Welcome to session 2. In this session, we're going to talk about vision, about really seeing. Not just seeing, looking, really looking and finding ideas by sharpening our observation skills. Basically, to simplify, where do you get great ideas? You get great ideas from identifying needs, something the world needs. How do you know? You can ask people what they need. They won't be able to tell you for the most part. You can watch what they do, and you can infer from what they do something that would make their lives better and easier. That's the whole point about observation skills and creativity. So here's a story about a great company called Intuit and software which continues to be market-leading software called Quicken, and how an entrepreneur named Scott Cook came up with the idea. This is over 30 years ago, and the company remains a great market-leading company to this day because of one observation that one creative person made. Before telling you this little story, I want to stress that it's very important, if you have an idea for a service or a product, get it out there, get people using it, and watch how they use it. And sometimes they'll use it in ways that you never really intended, but create huge value. When you find that, go with it. We'll talk about that perhaps a little later, but here's the story about a company called Intuit and the Quicken software. So the entrepreneur's name Scott Cook, and in 1984, the founder and president, Scott Cook, observed several well-dressed women, members of a Palo Alto Junior League, and they were sitting at their keyboards trying to use their computers to write checks. Remember, the first IBM PC came on the market around August 1981. So PCs were relatively new. These were savvy, educated women. They knew how to use PCs. They were trying to get the PCs to write checks, and it wasn't too easy. So Scott Cook perceived a need, and the need that he perceived was for software that would help people write checks. Now, the secret of his success was very, very simple. You always have to compare your idea or your product with other products available in the market. There were already a lot of such products for check writing. They were complicated, hard to use. And Scott Cook benchmarked and realized that he had to compare his product with the best alternative. That's always a good idea. What's the best alternative to a check writing piece of software that you use on your computer? How about the pencil or the pen? So what does it mean when your software is competing with a pencil or a pen? It means that your software has to be really simple, has to load quickly, and has to be as friendly as the familiar pen. When you tell your software engineers that they're competing with a pen or a pencil, you will possibly, hopefully, get really beautiful, simple, easy-to-use, friendly software. And that was Quicken's competitive advantage, that it really was cheap, fast, hassle-free, easy to use, and hence quickly captured the market. I'll tell you the story about Follow Me Home later, because that story illustrates the principle that people sometimes use your product in ways you never intended. And you have to observe that. If you don't observe it, you may miss a really important piece of information. You need to have sharp eyes to spot that, and I'll tell you that story a little later this week. Product opportunity gaps. So the key to creative ideas that change the world is identifying a real need. And a real need is a gap that needs to be filled. And the gap is between what people have now and what they should have based on current trends and based on things that are happening now. So here's a story about a product opportunity gap. And it has to do with something as simple as a vegetable peeler. how many millions of people used vegetable peelers and never thought about, could we make this thing better? Is this thing inconvenient? And I used them for a long time, the conventional ones, until someone gave us a present, this thing, this beautiful device called the OXO vegetable peeler. And it has this lovely squishy handle, much bigger than conventional peelers, and it makes all the difference. So simple. The person who invented the OXO vegetable peeler identified a gap between the peelers that existed, were inconvenient, hard to hold, and this beautiful peeler with the squishy handle. He did that because of something he himself needed. This is often a source of great creative ideas. If you need something, chances are a lot of other people do. If you need a better peeler, there are millions of people who need it as well. And his wife had arthritis and she had trouble gripping the conventional vegetable peelers, so he used some technological developments in terms of squishy plastic, put a squishy plastic handle onto the vegetable peeler, and this thing conquered the world like wildfire. And then, of course, he used this as a platform and created a large number of kitchen utensils with similar easy-to-hold squishy handles like this. The squishy handle idea spread. You all have toothbrushes that have these squishy handles, and that too is a kind of a similar idea. A toothbrush that used to have a hard-to-hold handle to one that holds a nice, soft, squishy plastic handle. So identify gaps between what exists and what should exist, and then create it, do it. Remember, creativity is doing something. It's not just an idea. He didn't just have an idea, but he actually did this and created it. So it's really helpful to learn how to make things, or to find people who know how to make things and who can make prototypes that you can show people and advance your ideas. So action learning. I'd like you to spend a day sharpening your creativity vision. During the coming day, I'd like you to observe people carefully, yourself and the people around you, and find how they work around problems and challenges, sometimes without even being aware of it. Identify product opportunity gaps for products or for services. Can you discover penicillin? Can you make penicillin out of what seems like mold? Sharpen your vision. Really, really watch what you yourself do, what other people do. Can you come up with an idea that saves time, saves money, saves irritation, that's more convenient, easier, better, faster, cheaper, or in some way creates value for people and changes the world in that fashion, even in sometimes very small ways. That ends session 2. Please come back when we tackle our next subject in session 3.